Hello everybody, it's Brian for GadgetUnit.com, and it's time for episode 147 of my question and answer series, starting with Stuff with Ben. Current favorite iOS app? I would have to say it's Tweetbot 3. It's just an incredibly simple, clean, feature-filled Twitter client for iOS. It's not the newest version, which is Tweetbot 4, because when I was using Tweetbot, I was still on iOS 8.4. Even with iOS 9, I'll probably still use Tweetbot 3 because Tweetbot 4 doesn't really have anything for me except for quick reply from notifications. From Freddie Malpartita, what's your favorite Android device as of right now? Of the ones I've actually used, the Nexus 6P by Huawei is definitely my favorite Android device at the moment. It has premium hardware, it's fast, it looks good, it has a fingerprint reader, which I wish was on the front, since having it on the back is sort of inconvenient. It's still a great phone overall. It's a little bit pricey, I guess, compared to some other options, even though it is pretty high-end for what it is. We do have some competitors that offer just as high-end devices for a little bit less, but still the 6P is a fantastic device, and if I had to switch to Android for a long period of time, it would definitely be the Nexus 6P. Although I will say that with the Alcatel One Touch Fierce XL that I have now, for $112, it's a whole lot of phone for a little bit of money. From Revolution, I try to think of a good question to ask, but sometimes I end up forgetting altogether. I guess I'll ask a couple of normal questions I'd ask anybody else. So the reaction to Apple removing the headphone jack and forcing us to buy an extra adapter, probably $20 to $30, hasn't been well received, but many Apple fans give them a break, saying it will make them make more room for a bigger battery and the jack isn't really needed. I don't really care, to be honest, but what do you think? Is this another attempt to conform us to Apple's walled garden, spend more money on an extra Apple product, or is Apple genuinely moving forward to newer tech? I think that if they were genuinely moving forward to newer tech, they would switch to USB Type-C and do away with Lightning. They've already done this on their new MacBooks as well as the new Apple TV. So I think eventually they may switch their mobile devices to USB Type-C, since that's just the standard, it's the future, it's, as far as I know, the same size as Lightning, so it wouldn't really do any harm to them if they switched from Lightning. But I don't know, is a headphone jack currently really that much of a holder for what they're trying to do? It's not that big of a port, it doesn't seem to be taking up that much room internally, and even if they do get rid of it, the battery's not going to increase that much, or they're going to use that space for something else instead of a bigger battery. We'll just have to see how Apple plays this. I'm fine with whatever they do. If they require a 3.5mm adapter, I'll probably get it just so I can continue using the iPhone and my standard headphones, because I'm not going to go out and get Lightning or USB Type-C headphones. I don't really want wireless headphones yet, so we'll just have to see. Also, have you heard about the Nextbit Robin? Your thoughts? I'm not feeling the whole life in the cloud idea like Chromebook, but on a smartphone, maybe. I have seen it here and there, I just had to look it up again to remind myself about what it actually is, and I think that having an OS in the cloud, or at least most of the apps in the cloud, may not be the best idea just yet, because what if you're not on Wi-Fi? I think having these options stored locally on the device is a better option. As far as I can tell, the app data is still stored locally on the device, it's only the app that's being pulled in. What do you do in situations where you want to play a large game? Wait for it to download again? If you have a fast, uncapped internet connection, that's probably not really a problem, but for everybody else who isn't really tied to Wi-Fi too much, this obviously won't work for them. Given that a lot of smartphones nowadays can hold micro SD cards of serious capacity, I don't think that this is really something that's necessary yet. But to summarize, it is an interesting idea. I just think it's a bit too early for those types of things. From David McBenge, what do you think about Apple unlocking for the FBI so they can get info from the shooters? Myself, I think they shouldn't do that because it would open a whole bigger can of worm. Privacy is worth something after all. For the most part, I do agree. If they do unlock this one phone, then you have software that's available to do that to any other device if it gets into the wrong hands, which could be a huge issue. On the one end, you kind of want them to get into the device so that they can go and find some valuable information about the shooters and maybe anybody else who might be connected to it. So you can kind of see it from both sides, but I think the bigger side is the fact that if they do make software that can get into these phones, it can get into the wrong hands or be reversely engineered, and then you may actually have a bigger problem in terms of privacy. From IkRam232, I'm still using XP like a boss. I don't really have any issues with Windows XP. I loved Media Center Edition when it was out. If it wasn't for this mindset of mine where I want to be on the latest software and have modern looking interfaces, I would probably still be using Windows XP. Next would probably be Windows 10, and if I had to choose a third, it would probably be Windows Vista. Windows 7 and Windows 8 are just kind of too much of an in-between OS, and I don't know, just something about those two I'm not really a fan of anymore. But that's about it with episode 147 of my question and answer series. I really did enjoy this one. We had some interesting questions. Not that we don't usually have interesting questions, but anyway, tune in next week for episode 148. If there are any questions that you would like me to try and answer, leave them down below in the comments area. But that's it with the video. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll talk to you all whenever I happen to make another video.